My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. A Class in Stress Relief. Author unknown. Cleaning up went rather quick, as Dash pulled from wall to wall, stacking up the books as Twilight rearranged them.
You're quite energetic today, Dash. Yeah, I'm excited about this new trick. So what is the new trick? Well, I swoop up here, then roar down here, then loop a loop and swing up like so, and then spiral like this, and I get it, Twilight said and rolled her eyes. It's fast, it's complicated.
She then fell into a heap on the floor and sighed.
What's the matter, Twilight? Ugh. Spike's away to DAO, so I have to clean up after myself every 5 minutes. Reports are late and backing up and my study is suffering.
Twilight rolled onto her back and groaned.
Gee, sounds tough. More stress than tough. I wish I could help you,
Dash said as she headed for the door. Over Twilight Sparkle's head, a light bulb lit up. In the blink of an eye, she was between Dash and the door.
You can, if you want to,
Twilight said as she gazed into Dash's eyes.
Really? How?
Dash felt compelled to ask.
It takes a bit of magic, but Spike and I do it all the time. Well, sometimes, when the stress gets too high. What exactly does that mean?
Dash curiously cocked an eyebrow.
Well, a few years ago, I had this phase where I turned into various mythical creatures, and I found one that was very interesting. It's called a human. Human? What's that? Sounds silly.
Dash giggled.
Well, the story has it that once they ruled the entire world, but they destroyed themselves or something like that. But they made some pretty neat things. Like what?
Dash's curiosity was piqued. Twilight smiled on the inside and said,
Well, you have to promise to help me, and it stays between you and me. Sure. It will take more than sure, Dash. This is a serious secret.
Rainbow Dash, being as curious as she is, made a pretty big promise.
Okay, I promise, and if I tell, I hope my wings fall off.
Twilight accepted it as an acceptable promise.
Great. Then it's magic time.
Twilight stood in front of Dash and gently touched her with her horn as she said the incantation.
Transform us.
The air began to tremble, and Twilight Sparkle's eyes lit up in white.
Conjurum et spiritus sexy.
Her voice echoed, and lights in green, blue, purple, and lilac began to swirl around them both.
Ecosferas caballus ut homo sapiens.
They were both encased in an orb by the swirling lights, lifting them upwards.
Feminine quod, feminine phallica.
Rainbow Dash was beginning to have second thoughts by now, but she stuck with it, as she felt as if her stomach was turning inside out.
Transform us, el spiritus sexy, transform us.
A blinding flash followed, and it was over.
Twilight,
Rainbow Dash called.
I feel kind of funny. I know. We're not ponies anymore, and since it's your first time, you are going to feel weird.
Dash sat up on the floor. Her vision was blurry.
Careful now, Rainbow. You're going to need some getting used to,
Twilight said as she knelt in front of her friend. Rainbow Dash's vision got stable again, and she was silent as she looked at her friend for a long moment. Twilight Sparkle had turned into a beautiful young woman. Her hair was long and purple with a pink streak reaching far down into her back. Her skin was lilac, and, well, she looked like a human version of herself. Save the unicorn horn, which was missing.
You look, Dash began, beautiful.
Twilight blushed.
Thank you, Dash. You are quite stunning yourself.
Dash stood up on all fours.
Well, this looks silly and awkward.
Twilight giggled.
No, silly. Humans stand up on their hind legs, like this.
Twilight stood up.
Oh,
Dash said and tried to stand up herself.
Careful now. Find your balance,
Twilight encouraged. Rainbow Dash was about to topple over when Twilight Sparkle caught her. Her body heat started to have a strange effect on Dash, who gently parted with Twilight.
I'm good,
Dash said and slowly let go of Twilight, standing upright on her own. She looked at her front hooves and moved them around, flexing and grabbing.
They're called hands, and your hind hooves are called your feet,
Twilight informed her confused friend.
This looks kind of weird and cool at the same time. I know.
Dash's skin was light blue, like her pony self, and her rainbow-colored hair was short. Dash looked down at her feet and flexed her toes. Then she saw something unexpected.
I've got a schlong. I'm a filly, not a colt. Well, you're both.
Twilight blushed.
It's kind of what I want you to help me with. So I gave you some extra equipment. Well, you could have made it bigger. It's kind of small. Actually, you're big for a human. They're much more flexible than ponies, so their schlongs don't need to be long. Okay,
Dash said, then remembered something.
Wait, what do I need this for to help you? You want to mate with me? Not exactly. You see,
Twilight thought for a moment on how to word it.
humans were the master of this thing unknown to most of the world today. They call it recreational sex. Mating for enjoyment, not procreation.
Rainbow Dash looked very skeptically at her friend, and then she noticed another difference.
What are those bulbs on your chest? I don't have any. Well, humans come in all shapes and sizes. Tall, short, wide, thin, and so on. These breasts are things exclusive to human feelings and mares, and vary in size from huge to virtually non-existent, but fill the same purpose. You have a pair too, but yours are noticeably smaller. Your pony self also have breasts of a sort, but we call them teats. This is interesting and all, but we're not in heat, so how's it gonna work?
Twilight slowly walked up to her friend, swaying her hips and looking at her seductively. Dash backed away slowly till she was firmly pressed up against the wall.
That's what I like about humans,
she said, whispering into Rainbow's ear, sending a shiver down her spine.
Humans meet all year round.
Dash suddenly found herself unable to speak. She nervously swallowed. Twilight closely embraced her friend, looking deeply into Dash's eyes for a long, endless moment. She leaned in closer and gently kissed her soon-to-be lover. Dash trembled as Twilight dipped down and kissed her neck, planting light kisses along the length of her arm from shoulder to the back of her hand. Dash was breathing heavily now, and had a difficult time controlling herself.
Nervous?
Twilight whispered into Dash's ear.
Yeah,
Dash said. Her cheeks were reddening.
Well, you just leave it to me, and I'll make you feel really good. Just tell me if it hurts, okay? The first time can be a little overwhelming.
Dash only nodded. Twilight smiled and ran her hand through Dash's short hair, kissing her. She lowered herself and cast her breath on one of Dash's nipples, making them harden. She smiled and took one between her lips and gently sucked on it, flicking her tongue over the nub. Dash let out a wide-eyed gasp.
Ah!
Twilight snickered and switched breasts, gently rubbing and squeezing the other. A gentle bite rewarded her with a buck and a gasp.
Twilight!
Dash's voice was unstable.
I feel strange. Don't worry, Sugar Cube. As long as it doesn't hurt.
Twilight reached around Dash and gently scratched the outline of her spine, sending shivers of pleasure in all directions. Suddenly, something warm bounced against her stomach. Twilight smiled and looked down, seeing that Dash was beginning to harden. She stood up and kissed her lover deeply.
You liked that, Rainbow Dash? I like that very much,
she panted for an answer.
Good, because this is really going to make you squirm.
Twilight grinned evilly. Twilight slid down on her knees and took Dash's member in her hands. She stroked it up and down, working up a pace. Dash was panting heavily, and she closed her eyes tight and leaned back her head. Twilight grinned and continued to tease her friend. She scratched her nails under the sack, making Dash buck her hips a little. The poor Pegasus didn't know what to do. She'd never felt anything like this before. She trampled in place with her feet, and Twilight felt pity upon her friend and lover, and decided to finish her off now.
Dash!
Twilight called. Dash opened her eyes and looked down at her friend, locking eyes with her. Without breaking eye contact, Twilight took Dash into her warm, moist mouth. Dash caved for the new overwhelming sensation, and rapidly bucked her hips as a tingling wave flowed through her nether regions.
Twilight!
She cried as she threw her head back and shot her hot load in Twilight's mouth. Twilight swallowed as much as she could with only some minor spell. Dash sated for the moment, lost her footing, and slid to the floor, heavily panting. Twilight wiped the semen from her mouth and nuzzled up against Dash. Dash's voice broke.
That was...
She couldn't complete the sentence.
I know how you feel.
Twilight giggled and smiled. She kissed Dash deeply, giving the blue-hued girl a taste of herself.
Give me a minute, please.
Dash panted.
I need to process this.
Well, as long as you don't forget about me.
I can never do that. Not after this.
Well, next it's your turn.
But...
Hush. I'll tell you what you have to do. But not everything. Twilight giggled and gave Dash a light kiss on her nose. A moment of silence followed. Dash began to calm down and become clear-headed again. She looked down at Twilight, laying curled up against her, resting her head on her chest.
So, you and Spike do this from time to time, huh?
Dash asked.
Well...
Twilight gripped Dash a little harder. No.
No?
I've really just wanted to try this. I performed the transformation a few times, but always on my own. You're my first. Dash didn't know what to say.
I'm happy to be your first,
she finally said. You really mean that? Twilight sat up and looked Dash in the eyes. Dash grabbed her chin and pulled her closer.
After this, I wouldn't lie to you.
They kissed. A long, passionate kiss. When Dash broke it, she had a mischievous grin on her face. In a fell swoop, she stood up with Twilight lying in her arms.
Ah!
Careful! Twilight shouted and held on tight. Dash almost toppled over, but regained her balance pretty quickly. She walked on unsteady legs up the stairs to Twilight's bed, and gently put her down.
Now it's my turn to repay the favor,
Dash said. She straddled Twilight and dipped down, kissing her neck. Twilight giggled from the tickling kiss. Dash kissed her lips, then sat up. She observed Twilight's breasts, and gently grabbed a hold of them. In a mirrored move, she pressed her index fingers against the nipples and slowly rotated them, gently squeezing the breasts, where a few sizes bigger than her own. Twilight stretched out and almost purred in pleasure. Dash leaned down and kissed each of the nipples several times, giving each a short suck. That feels wonderful, Dash, Twilight moaned. Dash only smiled in return. She slid down, planting kisses from her breasts, over her stomach down to her vulva. Twilight had become moist, and the scent was beginning to spread. Dash took a big lungful, and her head began to cloud once again.
You smell wonderful, Twilight.
Thank you, Dash, Twilight blushed. Now be careful. You see that white little nub where the lips meet? Dash looked closer, gently spreading her lips aside, and spotted it.
This one, you mean?
She asked and gently poked Twilight's clitoris. Twilight yelped, and Dash backed away. Thank you, Dash, Twilight blushed. Now be careful. You see that white little nub where the lips meet? Dash looked closer, gently spreading her lips aside, and spotted it.
This one, you mean?
She asked and gently poked Twilight's clitoris. Twilight yelped, and Dash backed away. Yes, that one. Be careful, it's very sensitive.
Gotcha.
Rainbow Dash continued her exploration with renewed confidence. She stuck out her tongue, and gently traced Twilight's nether lips. Twilight moaned deeply and curled. More, she begged. Dash gave the whole thing a long lick, sending shivers throughout Twilight's body. Dash thought for a moment, then gently licked the little nub again. Twilight bucked her hips, and let off sounds of pleasure. Then she began sucking on it, flicking her tongue around and over the knot of pleasure nerves.
Ah!
Twilight's eyes shot open and she convulsed. Stop! Too much! Too much! Too much! Ah! Dash was relentless. She let the nub go and started rubbing in circles with her thumb. Ah! No! No, no, no! Twilight couldn't hold it in anymore. Like a cave-in, she had an orgasm, convulsing in seizures drawn out by Dash's looking and rubbing. Finally, Twilight crashed down on her back, on the brink of fainting. She hit Dash over the head with a pillow. You're terrible, she said, a fake tone of hurt, and hid her face in her hands.
You liked it,
Rainbow said grinning and crept up to her lover, planting kisses over her hands. Rainbow Dash removed Twilight's hands and kissed her deeply. Twilight pushed her lover onto her back and sat up on her heels, as she grabbed her lover's schlong. Gently massaging it, she got in rigid once again. She arched down and took it in her mouth, jerking it. She let her tongue play over the swollen head. Dash only moaned as she ran her fingers through Twilight's purple hair. Suddenly, Twilight let the schlong go with a deep intake of air. Now for the main course. She smiled and leaned back. Rainbow Dash looked a little confused for a moment, then got the hint. She leaned over Twilight and kissed her one last time before she sat up, and began rubbing her schlong back and forth over Twilight's moist flower. Twilight couldn't bear it anymore, and grabbed Dash's shoulders and looked her straight in the eyes. Looking deep into Dash's purple eyes, she said,
"Mate with me, my beautiful she-stallion."
Hearing that sent Dash over the edge, and she began pressing against Twilight's flower.
"Oh, great Equestria!"
Twilight cried as Dash slid her member deep into her. Dash quickly set rhythmic pace, sliding in and out.
"Oh, yes, Twilight!"
Dash cried when her lover's insides wrapped around her member as hot, moist, and velvet.
"Dash, Dash, harder, please, harder."
Rainbow Dash did her best to please her lover, increasing the pace. They pressed their bodies together, feeling the heat coming for the other. A passionate kiss with intertwined tongues melted together. Hot jets of heavy breasts coated their chests, and their faces adding to the pleasure.
"Twilight!"
Dash cried as she tried digging deeper with short, rapid thrusts.
"Rainbow Dash, I love you." "I love you, Twilight." "I love you, Dash."
Dash kept the pressure building in her loins at bay for a long time, but she couldn't hold it for much longer. Twilight wrapped her legs around Dash's waist, and her arms around her shoulders in an attempt to get closer.
"Twilight, I can't hold it." "A little longer. Just a little longer, Rainbow Dash."
Rainbow Dash mustered all her strength to keep on going, but her dams were quickly cracking and crumbling.
"Twilight,"
she said in a strained voice, pressing her teeth together.
"Yes, Dash. Yes, now, Dash. Look me in the eyes, Dash. Let go, now."
Dash had sweat pouring off her as she opened her eyes and looked into Twilight's eyes as they both caved under the pressure. Dash forced her eyes open as she felt the rush in her loins, causing her hips to buck. Trying to get deeper into Twilight, she launched stream after glowing hot stream of seed into her womb. Twilight felt the hot seed injecting into her, and she screamed as she shook in the earthquake of an orgasm. They finally held their eyes locked in each other as orgasmic waves rivaling storms and cyclones ripped through their frail bodies, and their souls finally merged in a fiery display of flashes and colors that ended in the purest light of oblivion. Spent and exhausted, Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle awoke in each other's arms, sweaty and sticky, but they didn't care.
"That was,"
Twilight began,
"so off the scale." "Yeah,"
Dash agreed.
"that beat flying by miles, light years."
Twilight's last action before she fell asleep again was to kiss her new love, lightly and gently. Rainbow Dash embraced Twilight in a spoon, and pulled the covers over them and closed her eyes. Later that day, Applejack, Fluttershy, and Rarity met Twilight Sparkle and Rainbow Dash, back in their pony forms.
"Howdy, friends. I haven't seen you all day,"
Applejack greeted.
"Rainbow Crash landed in more trouble, I guess,"
Rarity jabbed.
"Yeah, and she paid for it,"
Twilight said with a smile.
"Yeah, I had to pay, all right."
Dash had a hard time keeping a straight face. Rarity and Applejack looked at Rainbow for a moment.
"You look mighty less energetic now, Dash." "You, look a little tired, maybe,"
Fluttershy interjected before hiding in her mane.
"Yeah, I crashed into Twilight's house and made a great big mess,"
Dash admitted.
"Oh gosh, I hope you made her clean up for herself, Twilight,"
Rarity said in horror.
"I bet she did. Twilight can be a pretty good slave driver when she wants to."
Applejack winked in jest.
"I had to work all right,"
Dash said and nudged Twilight.
"Twilight really wore me out."
Twilight and Rainbow giggled at each other from the confused looks from their friends.
"Well, that better teach you not to make a mess,"
Twilight said and poked her friend with her horn.
"I won't make any promises. I rather enjoyed it,"
Dash said and winked. The end. Oh God, I'm scarred for life.